Real Madrid finally decided to get a center back.
Dean Huijsen is about to become a Madridista.
It only took multiple ACLs to be torn for Perez to realize, hey, maybe some money needs to be spent on the defense. And what a player they got. A young Spanish center back who has an eye for goal.
Towards the back post, Huijsen! Dean Huijsen with the header! Long throw-in into the area. Huijsen heads goalwards! And you know the rest!
Sound familiar?
My idol was always Ramos. When I was growing up, he had everything.
So who exactly is Dean Huijsen, and why is there so much hype around his name? Now some of you might be wondering why Madrid wanted a center back who not only looks like he's always high, but is coming from Bournemouth.
My eyes, I have sleepy eyes. I have it from my mom because my mom has sleepy eyes. I'm not high.
Well, first of all, the Cherries have actually been a good side in the Premier League. At one point, they were competing for European football despite half their team being injured. So let's show them some respect. But more importantly, many of Madrid's best signings have come from smaller clubs. Modric and Bale came from Spurs.
It's the history of the Tottenham.
Ramos came from Sevilla. Ronaldo came from United. I'm joking. Back then, United was actually a big club. Nowadays, it doesn't matter where you play. If you have talent, it will be noticed. And Huijsen is a player that fits the exact mold of the modern day center back. He is super tall, an aerial threat, great in duels, and fantastic on the ball. God, I feel like I'm George Janko describing Andrew Tate.
He's super tall, bro, and like it's super intimidating when he has so many bodyguards around him.
The fact that Huijsen is 2-footed and comfortable in possession is exactly why he was central to the way Iraola wanted his Bournemouth side to play. So the fact that it looks like he just spent an afternoon with Snoop Dogg is fine, because being calm on the ball is a great quality for a central defender. How good Huijsen is on the ball will be explored in great detail later in the video. Now you guys want to know what's funny? Madrid almost signed Huijsen in 2021. At the time, the Spaniard was actually Dutch. You'll see what I mean later. He was doing well at Malaga's youth setup. Being that tall but an intelligent defender made him attract a lot of attention. And at 16 years old, he was looking to make the next big jump in his career. And the decision was between Juventus and Real Madrid. Huijsen chose the old lady, feeling like Italy would be the best place to continue his development.
Because, you know, obviously Italy is famous and they really teach you the ins and outs of defending, where to stand, how to run, how to do this, how to do that.
Arriving in Turin, he quickly made a name for himself in Juventus' academy. Despite playing as a center back, he had a knack for scoring goals, often with powerful headers. In fact, his first 2 professional goals came in the same game, when he scored a brace in the second leg of the Coppa Italia Serie C semi-finals. He had been working hard in the Juventus youth teams, and soon the coaches started to notice. They liked how calm he was on the ball, how smart he looked defensively, and how much he wanted to improve. And in October of 2023, Huijsen finally got his chance. Juventus were playing against AC Milan, and with just a few minutes left, he was sent on as a sub. At this time, he was only 18 years old. You would think that substitute appearance would be the start of his rise at Juventus, but that debut turned out to be his only first team appearance for the club. It was not easy for him to break in. There were experienced players ahead of him, and opportunities were rare. So the club decided it was best for him to get more minutes elsewhere. And in January of 2024, he was loaned out to Roma. And that's where everything changed. At Roma, Huijsen quickly became a regular starter. He played 13 league games and scored his first goals in senior football. But one goal stood out more than the rest. Roma were pushing forward. Huijsen picked up the ball deep in his own half, looked up, and just went for it.
Still going, Dean Huijsen. This is Huijsen! And it had to be him. He was linked with a move to Frosinone in January. He opted for Roma, and he comes to the Stirpe and shows Frosinone what they could have had.
Fans couldn't believe it. A teenage center back scoring a goal like a top striker. I'm telling you right now, Højlund can't even do this, and he cost 80 mil. That moment proved something important. Huijsen wasn't just tall and strong, he had real skill. Was this calm, confident kid ready to be a starter for them? Or was his future somewhere else? Somewhere where he could play every week and keep growing? And by the time the season ended, Juventus had a big decision to make. Many were hopeful that under Motta, the young defender would be given a real chance to prove himself. However, according to Huijsen himself, when he returned for preseason, it was very clear that the club had no intention of keeping him. Faced with financial constraints, Juventus told the defender that he had to be sold for them to raise funds. Huijsen has publicly stated that he never wanted to leave. He wanted a chance to prove himself, considering he had been at the club for 3 years. But Juventus had already made their decision. In fact, they started to even force him to train alone as a way of pushing him out of the club. Well, out of nowhere, Bournemouth stepped in and they signed Huijsen.
Dean, firstly, welcome to AFC Bournemouth. How happy are you to be at this club?
I'm really excited to be here.
It was a surprise because a mid-table team in the Premier League casually picked up a super talented young defender for just 15.2 million euros. I mean, it's one thing for Juve to want to sell a player to get money, but it's another thing to get such a low price from a Premier League team. Literally every club outside of the Premier League knows that Premier League clubs love to burn money. They have so much of it. So the fact that they couldn't get a bigger fee for the Spaniard, someone who has so much potential, I feel like that's just bad negotiating. It wasn't a massive headline-grabbing transfer, and many people outside of Bournemouth and Juventus didn't even really pay attention. But the Cherries knew what they were doing. At Juventus, his path to the starting lineup was uncertain, but Bournemouth offered him a chance to play regular first-team football.
Yeah, well, first of all, just game time. I didn't want to be at a big club and then just not play, I didn't want to be fourth choice centre back or whatever.
Yeah.
They saw Huijsen as a player with huge potential, a future star who just needed the right stage to show the world what he could do. And to be fair, the majority of Juve fans also felt the same thing. Their club just wasn't willing to give him an opportunity. For Huijsen, moving to England was a big step. A new country, a faster, more physical league, going from eating lasagnas to eating fish and chips, and now playing for a team that had to fight for every point. But that's exactly what he wanted. A real chance to play, to learn, and to grow as a player and person. Initially, life in the Premier League wasn't the easiest. He was one of the youngest players in the squad, and initially not a regular starter. In fact, during the first few months of the 2024-2025 season, he mostly came on as a sub in games. However, in November of 2024, an injury to Marco Senesi opened the door for Huijsen, and he took that opportunity and ran with it. Before he became a regular starter, Bournemouth had conceded 19 goals in just 13 games. The defense looked shaky, but once Huijsen started to play full matches, things changed. The back line began to look sharper, more organized. Opponents found it much harder to break through. Now, Huijsen wasn't doing anything flashy, it's just he was calm, clever, and always in the right place. By the end of the season, Bournemouth had one of the best home defensive records in the entire league, and they were doing it with one of the youngest center back pairings in the entire league. Huijsen played like someone much older, a more mature center back. He didn't panic under pressure, he made smart decisions, and more importantly, he gave the team a sense of calm at the back. Since Bournemouth started to get results, fans and pundits started taking notice. Who was this super tall guy winning every single duel?
I mean, he just makes the game look so easy and effortless. For a 20-year-old to be playing at this level and doing what he is, that's why he's coveted by pretty much everybody in Europe.
It was proof that sometimes age doesn't matter. I mean, Didi has been telling us that for years. If you're good, you're ready. It didn't take long for Huijsen to give Bournemouth fans some moments they'll never forget. On December 5th, 2024, he scored his first ever Premier League goal, and it was a big one. The match against Tottenham was locked at 0-0. Then during a corner kick, he made his move. He charged into the box, rose above everyone, and smashed a header into the net. Bournemouth won 1-0, and just like that, Huijsen became the youngest player in the club's history to score in the Premier League. But it wasn't just the goal that made people talk, it was also the celebration. He stood tall with his arms crossed, calm as ever, copying the chill guy meme. It perfectly matched his nickname, and the fans loved it.
He is so cool, so composed, so chilled, as he says.
But what's crazy is that he wasn't done yet. Just a few weeks later, on December 22nd, Huijsen did the same thing at Old Trafford. He made another smart run, beat his marker, and put the ball past the keeper. Bournemouth ended up winning that game 3-0. It was the second year in a row that they had won at Old Trafford, and this time it was Huijsen who started it all. That goal, that performance, the calm presence, he very quickly became a fan favorite. Bournemouth supporters knew that they had someone special, a teenager who didn't just play like a veteran, but celebrated like someone who never let the moment get too big. Huijsen was one of the most active center backs in the Premier League when it came to duels. If you look at this graphic from The Athletic, this brother was using every muscle in his 6'5" frame to defend. Whether it was stretching over the opposition striker, clearing the ball, or making a block, he was willing to do whatever was needed to protect the clean sheet. Now, this doesn't mean that Huijsen stands there like the chill guy and just waits for danger to come to him. He's not that kind of defender. Yes, he can block shots and win headers, but he also knows when to step forward and shut things down early. He reads the game so well, and he often stops attacks before they even begin. In fact, in the 2025 season, he made 4.1 key interceptions per 1,000 opponent touches, one of the best rates in the entire league for a center back. Now you might be wondering, what the hell is that stat? It just shows you how sharp his instincts are and how brave he is to step up and make things happen on his own. And he basically had to in Iraola's system. He was consistently put in positions where he had to defend wide areas by himself in 1v1 duels, because Milos Kerkez, the Bournemouth left back, was always bombing forward. Look at this match in February of 2025 against Brighton. Kerkez is ahead of the ball as Brighton regained possession. As a result, Huijsen has to calmly move over to try and stop Minte's momentum by matching his run and preventing him from coming inside on his stronger left foot. This is what Huijsen can do. He can cover a large chunk of space quickly and then completely shut down the opposition attacker. Imagine seeing a 6'5" guy just sprinting at you. He did the same thing against the best team in the Premier League, Liverpool. Kerkez had pushed forward again, but Liverpool had won the ball and countered. But Huijsen quickly shuffled across and tackled Salah before he could pick up speed. Whether it's a speedy winger or an elite 9, Huijsen has no problem defending them. He gets close and limits their space. Look at what he was doing to Isak, one of the most elite 9s out there, practically humping the guy. Imagine being a La Liga striker and trying to play with your back to goal against Huijsen and Rudiger. The back of your legs are gonna have scars. Iraola himself praised Huijsen's mentality, saying that it's probably his best attribute, the fact that he isn't afraid of marking any forward, and he's very calm in doing it, which again is a great quality to have in a Real Madrid center back. In the past, Madrid defenders were always aggressive, which they already have. Asensio, Rudiger. Having a guy who's more calculated will be a nice complementary piece, because usually that's the best center back partnership. One super aggressive defender, one calmer guy. One who's great on the ball, one who's more of a destroyer. Although Huijsen can be a destroyer and he's good on the ball. Now there is an issue with Huijsen being this tight on his man. It can lead to space being opened up behind him that can be exposed. But Madrid will be hoping that Rudiger, Asensio, or Militao can clean up the gap with their pace in case Huijsen doesn't win the ball initially. Because you already know the first time this guy makes a mistake, they're gonna call him Saddam Huijsen on Twitter. The other quality that makes Huijsen so sought after is that he's excellent on the ball. As we can see from this chart from The Athletic, only 3 Premier League center backs had played a higher proportion of progressive passes in the 2025 season, while only 5 other defenders carried the ball out of defense more regularly than the Bournemouth man. To have been that fearless at 19 in your first full season of senior football is not normal, because remember, he arrived midway through the year at Roma, so the 2025 season at Bournemouth was the first time that he was with a senior team from the beginning of the season till the very end. What's great about Huijsen is that he's always positive and forward thinking, and he has the quality to back it up. He's always looking for that beautiful diagonal ball, a driven pass to break the lines. He wants to create something. He's not afraid of it. Sure, maybe sometimes he can be too eager to get the ball forward, but his success rate is still very impressive. And to me, he seems like the type of player who will elevate his game to another level when he's surrounded by more quality. Because it's very different when you're playing long balls to Evan Nielsen than it is when you're sending them to Mbappe. It's even more impressive when you realize that he can pick out a perfect pass with either foot. Here he is using his right foot to pick out Yamal, who would actually go on to score from this passage of play. What's crazy is that he's also good enough to break down a low block by himself. Look at him skipping through pressure and finding a gap against Brentford, one of the toughest teams to break down in the Premier League. With him and Trent, Madrid have more tools available to them. Madrid fans are licking their lips thinking about how Huijsen can break the terrace low block of Getafe, for example. On top of making his mark in the Premier League, Huijsen was also quite impactful for Spain on the international stage. Now you might be wondering, what do you mean Spain? I thought the guy was born in the Netherlands. Well, he was, but he was invited to join Spain's under-21 team in March of 2024 after he gained his Spanish citizenship. He had been born in the Netherlands, and he did play internationally for them up to the under-19 level, but he decided to make the switch to La Roja. Funny enough, his debut was against the Netherlands, And as you can imagine, he was booed. But true to his chill nature, he kept his calm and played well. And of course, he ended up getting a killer assist against them. Now you can see why all the top clubs in the world wanted him. He has all the ingredients needed to be a top class center back. Because remember, defenders usually get better with age, as they mature both mentally and physically. So the fact that he's this good, this young, is insane. Between him and Cubarsí, I don't know what they're feeding kids in Spain. Now Madrid wanted to bring him in not just because he's good, but because they desperately need a center back. At times, Los Blancos just had one healthy center back, and that was Asensio. The biggest club in the world kept using makeshift back lines. Rudiger, Alaba, and Militao all have gone through surgery, so who knows how good these guys will be when they return. As a result, signing Huijsen isn't just a smart move, it was a must-make move. He's young, but he's already shown how good he can be both at the club and international level. He's not just a future talent, he's someone who can step in and lead right away. I mean, considering defenders usually get better in their 30s, you got at least 10 to 12 seasons of a top quality player. For Madrid, he's the kind of defender you build around. Young, fearless, and already proven at the top level. Now, if there's one man who can get the best out of the Spaniard, it's another Spaniard. To see how good Xabi Alonso is as a manager, you gotta check out this video right here.